Adam Taylor, the absolute sales Chad.
I had long hair because I hadn't had a haircut in 6 months. I had no money. I ran out of money basically through the whole ordeal. That led me to get an opportunity to then manage an offer end of 2022. We took from $200,000 to $300,000 a month in rev to just under $1 million in the first 5 months. It's equally as possible that you hit 10 sales in a row now, as it is that you hit another 10 no sales, as it is they tell you to fuck off, as it is that they put on a sombrero and a fake mustache and start playing a fucking trumpet. You don't know. Anything can happen.
Infinite possibilities. Welcome back, guys, to the 4th edition of Taking the Piff podcast, where we uncover the real truths about high ticket sales, the most unfiltered podcast in the market. Today, we've got Adam Taylor, the absolute sales Chad, who manages and he mentors, and he's an absolute legend. So we're going to dive into a story. Let's kick it off.
So, Adam, why don't you kick us off? Just tell us a bit about your background in high ticket sales and your journey, how it's evolved over the last few years.
Yeah, so been in high ticket a good 5 years now. So I'm a post-COVID high ticket baby. I had a coaching business that I kind of lost or had to give up through COVID because I was coaching CrossFit gym owners across Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And yeah, I'd started January 2020, went great. March 2020, obviously, then, somebody hit a bat somewhere and shut my target market down. So struggled through that for a good year. And then 2021, I kind of threw in the towel, but had learned how to market a little bit. I learned how to sell a little bit, learned how to coach a lot. And I was kind of looking at, which of those skills I want to kind of develop. And then had a bit of a chance happening, just scrolling through Facebook, and I saw a post from a guy that I knew of as a success story from a guy called Taki Moore. It's kind of like the business coach of all the business coaches. And so he put up a post saying he was looking for a closer who had ideally had their own business coaching business. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh shit, that's me. And then kind of a few attributes that I was like, oh, I'd like to think that sounds like me. And then in the post he said my average closer last year earned $164,000 something dollars. I was like, how much? Just for taking the sales course. Like, he didn't have to make any content, he didn't have to do any marketing, he didn't have to coach them afterwards, he didn't have to nothing. I said, that's mental, that's crazy. I gotta send this guy a message now. So I went through the process, and God knows how, because I was in dire straits at the time. I had long hair because I hadn't had a haircut in 6 months. I had no money. I ran out of money basically through the whole ordeal. And
hippie vibes.
Yeah, I went to the C&A, which is like a dollar store basically. I bought 2 polo shirts with like a little collar for €2 each, just to kind of look I was like slicking my hair down like this. And somehow he saw something in me. And obviously at the time, because I had absolutely nothing else to do and I really needed it, I just massively threw myself into it. It was just kind of a little bit my personality anyway. I was a professional rugby player for 9 years coming out of school. That was my entry into the workforce. So I'm not very good at doing things half-assed. And I closed, I set, I did everything. Then from there, I was very fortunate to get an opportunity to coach alongside Bill Walsh in the Objection Box. Phenomenal opportunity to be able to get that sort of exposure and mentorship from him, and also to be able to get used to coaching guys in the space as well. That led me to get an opportunity to then manage an offer end of 2022. So that we took from $200,000 to $300,000 a month in rev to just under $1 million in the first 5 months. Then went on to build a done for you sales agency. So we kind of leveraging that one skill on one offer over multiple different offers in different industries as well, which is interesting because the first offer I managed was more of a coaching offer, so more of a 9-to-5 kind of B2C, as I know people call it. I don't think it's the right term, and then with Nomadic Closer, we did the done for you sales thing with a lot of like higher ticket investment opportunities, $60,000, $80,000 tickets, that kind of thing. Building out complete sales processes, also bringing some offers to market, which I wouldn't recommend anybody do as a sales agency, but we did it. One of which we took from zero brand new to market to $1 million in sales in 5 months. Don't know what the 5 months mark seems to be. We collected like 86% of it. They managed to not pay us on the final invoice, so that soured the relationship.
Standard.
That's high ticket sales for you. Yeah.
So those kind of things happening in that relationship kind of soured it a little bit for me as well. I was like just a little bit over the agency model.
Right.
So last year got back into the high ticket space. I had a little stint helping closers get into the the US insurance space. Fascinating industry. I really enjoyed that. Helping some guys transition into there because there's a lot of different upside. That's the complete downside of high ticket and just a super interesting space. So I really enjoyed helping some guys transition to that. But I'm back into the high ticket space now, managing an offer. It's actually the original offer, the very first one that I ever managed. Doing a little bit of coaching as well, but it's nice. It's kind of like come full circle, come back to the same offer that I kind of started with, in a completely different season of life, and it's a different person, different skill set as well. It's been really, really insightful. It's been great.
Man. Amazing. So you grew up in Bristol, right?
Yeah, born in Bristol, England. And then when I was 13, my family moved over to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished school in Spain, and then when I was 18, 19, just after school. I mean, my dad had to convince me to finish school. I was super over it at 16, didn't enjoy it. I just wanted to play rugby. And so then 18, 19, he managed to get me to finish school. And he said, you don't have to go to university, but if you want to play rugby, you got to go play rugby. So I got selected to go play for a professional club, a second division club in France.
Nice.
So I did that for a few years, got teeth smashed in and fingers smashed up and that kind of stuff. Yeah. You play rugby as well?
No, but I got my teeth smashed in. So.
Oh, yeah.
With football boys, I'm curious, how did your professional rugby career impact your sales career?
I had this weird realization one day when I got into high ticket sales. So through rugby, I was actually quite small for the position that I played. So by all means, I should have been a good 5 to 10 kilos heavier. Mm-hmm. So I just tried to make up for it with a bit of ignorance, a bit of like reckless abandon for the body kind of thing, which it did well for me. I read the game well, so I kind of got away with it, but I should have been a bigger. And so that kind of capped me at some point. So when I got into sales, it's just such a mirror, right? That I wasn't expecting. I was like, dude, you just on Zoom, talk to these people, just read the script, you're good. And then you get confronted with all this kind of like rejection, or for me, it was like the nice guy syndrome, trying to be too nice. And then like trying to figure out how to overcome those things. So in rugby, like you'd overcome stuff by like, just drilling harder or going to the gym, or like you'd overcome things with your physical body. But fuck it, I'm sat in a chair. And this is right. So people say, you got to slap them. Mm-hmm. You got to slap them. I'm like, bro, I only know I know one way how to slap someone. I can't do it on Zoom. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like,
they can't feel your forehead on Zoom, can they?
Yeah, I was like, what does that mean? Like, what does slap them mean? How do you do that? You just got to challenge them. I can fucking square up to someone, but I can't. I'm not scared of the cut, but I can't. I don't. What do I say? So it was all these like these things I had to learn and overcome that I couldn't do with my physical body. But then when I realized, so there's no constraint right now that I can't overcome because they're in my mind. Mm-hmm. So in rugby, there comes a point where a good big un will beat a good little un. That's a very Bristolian saying, but it means that if we are equal skill, the bigger physical guy they'll win. Mm-hmm. But now that limitation wasn't there. So I was like, whoa, hold on a second. It was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, does anybody else realize this? Like I can just be as good as I allow myself to be, because it's only in my mind. So that was how it actually influenced me, was
beautiful.
Realizing that there was no physical constraint for me was like, this is it. I remember when it was hitting me, I was like, I wonder if anybody else realized this. And that, I don't know, that set me on the path to be like, well, shit, I can just do what I want. I can get as good as I want as long as I just keep. And it also made me realize that it might, if it doesn't come naturally to me, it might take me a little bit more effort, but I can't effort my way to being 6'3" if I'm 6 foot.
Of course.
I can't do it, right?
No, it's possible though in sales, yeah.
Yes. So I can just through effort and repetition and just learning or unblocking or whatever it might be, I can do it. That was like a huge epiphany for me at the time. That's crazy.
I saw a video of you actually. It was one of Bill Walsh's old trainings. It was like you and Josh Lyons in there. But how long did it take you to go from like starting high ticket closing to being one of the coaches for Bill?
So I started in high ticket end of 2021, and then started working with Bill beginning mid 2022. So it was within a year.
Did you hit the ground running as a closer, or were you like humble for a few months?
No, so I hit the ground running. So do you guys know that if you got a fancy editor, you can probably edit it in? Do you guys know that meme that Alex Hormozi, there's a word for it because he mentioned it the other day. It's like a bell curve, and there's like a beginner over here.
Yeah, it's like uninformed optimism, is it?
Kind of like that, but it's in a meme form, right? So there's a bell curve like this, and over here there's like a beginner saying that, and in the fitness meme it would be eat protein, lift weights, and sleep well. And then there's the mid, it's the mid something meme. I'm sure you guys will give it in the comments, where it's a guy like sweating, saying, "Oh, it's peptides, it's infrared sauna, it's this, it's mouth taping, whatever," right? And then on the other side of the bell curve, there's like the Jedi, who's like, just eat protein, lift weights, and sleep well.
Yeah.
So this applies to sales as well, and I've seen this. Is that I came in and I had this weird belief, right? I actually did really well in the beginning because I just had this belief. It wasn't even belief, it was a worldview. It was like, this is just the way the world is. It wasn't even a belief I made up. In my mind, there was no way they were on the call to not buy. I'm like, why? What are they doing here if they're not going to buy? I couldn't compute. So by the time I finished that, the very first offer I was on, in the first 9 months, I was looking for another role, and because their marketing, unfortunately, the 2022 iOS update, fuck their Facebook ads and marketing and whatnot. But anyway, Bill was helping me to find another role. And so filling out applications, getting to like Cole Gordon's pipeline, all this kind of stuff. And one of the questions was, what's your close rate? So I'm like, Bill, what can you help me? Like, what's that? No word of a lie, right? Because on the offer, they just, how many sales did you make this week? That was all it was about, really. I'm sure they knew the close rate, but I never knew. We never talked about it. So I was like, what's that? Like, what's that? So he's like, you take the calls that you took that showed up.
He probably didn't say it that nicely, did he?
Yeah. He was all right. He was all right with me, honestly. He was probably had a little eye roll inside, but he was like, outwardly he was all right. And so you take the calls that showed up. I was like, the triage or the second call is like, because it was a 2-call, but he had to explain it to me. So I was like, right. So I went back and I counted all of them, and it came to exactly 50% close rate. So I'm like, fuck, only 50%. That's embarrassing. So I'm like, how did I only half? Fuck. So I go back to Bill and it was 50%. I was like, is that good? It's like, yeah, it's all right, mate. I had
a lot of closers would kill for that.
Yeah. So I had no idea. So I did super well, I think, because of that. Then what happens, obviously you get kicked in the nuts a few times and you overcomplicate things and you think, oh, I gotta learn this, I gotta learn that, and you overcomplicate it, and then you go over the hump again. You're like, oh, you just need good energy and conviction and like just have a good human conversation. But you need to go through that process, I feel, to learn some skills so that you can then just absorb them and they can be part of the way you talk. So that when you have a human conversation that people tell you to have, it's like, yeah, sure. But like, if you've never sold anything, you don't know how to do that. So I think you need to learn the skills to then be able to let them out, which is kind of like that comes back to rugby as well. So in rugby, you obviously all week you train, you drill, you obsess over like, this foot, this shoulder, tuck your elbow, like over tiny little, if you take contact, this side, depending where the ball came from, all these like super tiny, seemingly unimportant details. And you drill them, you train them, you learn them, and on the weekend you let them out. You don't think about it then. They just need to come out. So I think the problem with sales is that the training to playing ratio is a little bit skewed, right? Because we don't play once on the weekend. We play, hopefully 3, 4, 5 times a day, right? When you have a sales call. But that I was one of the ones that took off well, then hit the rut, and then got over that. So then, it's kind of just easy.
How long were you actually in closing for, like as a full-time closer?
So when I was working with Bill's coaching, but also closing with him, for him. And then it wasn't until I got into management that I then sort of started stepping back from closing myself. So that would have been a year and a half.
A year and a half.
18 months. Yeah. 18 months.
What advice would you give? Because it's a very common theme where like closers will come in, do like 4 or 5 months, start making content, and then just start mentoring full time after like a couple of months, pretty much of closing. What advice would you give to these kind of people? Is it a common trend nowadays?
Yeah. So I have very differing views on this. I think I don't have an issue with it. I'll tell you why. A lot of people are like, these fucking, who the fuck they think they are? They ain't done shit. Well, hold on a second. So whoever's saying that, however much they've closed, there's always a bigger fish. So who's to say that you can't say shit compared to that guy, right? And then, so when does that end? You know, when what's the number? When are you finally allowed to speak up?
Yeah.
Where's that written down? It's not, is it? In my opinion, I think, fuck it, I'll just say it. I think it's a good thing, genuinely. I think that the guy who got into remote sales and landed his first role and made his first 10K knows an awful lot more than the guy who hasn't got into remote sales and hasn't made his first sale and hasn't made his first K. To that guy, he knows everything.
100%.
Now, can you stay true to that and not try and pretend to make yourself out more than you are? That's the challenge of the ego. Right. And that's just the challenge that I think all human beings face at one point or another, especially in our 20s, where we're a little bit more ego driven and we're a little bit more sensitive to the opinions of others. I think that's normal and natural and a part of life. And I don't think anybody's going to get rid of it by ranting about it on Facebook. Right.
For sure.
It's normal and natural. I don't think you need to have finished your book to teach someone else your last chapter. I genuinely believe this. Then, if we all want to participate in a capitalistic society, let the market do its thing. If they're good, they'll stay. And if they're not, they won't. So chill and get on with your life. That's my opinion. I know people are a little bit wound up by, they've only done this. I think in Perth, I'll translate that. If I tear them down, that builds me up. There's 2 ways to have the tallest building in the city. This is from Gary Vee. You either build the tallest one or you tear all the other ones down. That's how I perceive that. Now, again, that doesn't mean to say that people can't go out and just, pretend that they've done something that they haven't. That's not cool. But if you have done something, who the fuck am I to say that you can't teach that to the next guy?
Exactly. It's like 99% of people that you can inspire that haven't done it. So
literally, yeah. Can you teach someone how to make $500,000 in sales? No, because you haven't done it. But you can teach them how you can teach people how you made your first 10K.
Yeah.
Not how to necessarily, but how you did. I've got no issue with people teaching that.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem in that. And again, if we all like a capitalistic society, let the market do its thing. If they're good, they'll stay. If they're not, they won't.
It's a great fucking answer.
It is.
Someone said it to me before. It's like, you don't need to like have everything figured out. But if someone's here and like, let's say we just mentioned Bill. Bill's like a 9. And they're a 0 and you're like a 5, you can help them get to a 5. I've invested in so many mentors over the years who've just helped me move up and up and up. But with regards to mentors, who would you say has had the biggest impact on your growth?
Bill, by far.
Bill, yeah? How so?
By far. He's really good at sales, man. It's really good. Now, of course, he was also kind of one of those guys that got into sales and really needed to make it work, and as did I at the time, which automatically puts you in a position where you do a lot of work and study and dedicate yourself to it. And that's in his nature anyway. But he was very influential because he took me under his wing he probably saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, which is also, I think as men, like that's a very nice feeling. If, you don't really, if somebody else can see something that you can't see, it gives you sort of hope and faith in yourself, and you can kind of borrow their confidence in you. So that was huge. I'm eternally grateful for him for that. He pushed me, but only as much as I could take as well, because there were points in which I needed him to let me know it's all right. You're okay. It's going to be fine. And there were times he was like, bro, that's not good enough, right? He's very good at that. So he's got very good man management skills, I call them. And for all the bravado and the polarizing way that he speaks and things that he says, he's got a massive heart on him, mate. Massive heart that he just doesn't show everybody. Why should he? Right? But yeah, he says some funny stuff. He says some funny things.
Connor does a great Bill Walsh accent. Do you wanna?
Oh, I'm bad on the spot. Let me try and think. Let me try and load
It's
it
not
up.
about the ting.
What's the word that he said?
Yo.
Buddy, unfortunately for you, buddy, you're a fucking party.
He said some funny things. I mean,
He's got the best banter out of anyone in the sales space. for
massively.
sure.
Yeah, he's got some fucking personality.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Which a lot of these other guys could do with at times, honestly, mate.
100%.
Because he's lived a bit of a life, you know, and he brings that into sales, and he's got the chops, and he's like, he knows what he's about, and he's not afraid to say it, and that's like something I think a lot of us could take, you know.
100%.
Sure.
At times it gets too serious in sales now, and you're worried about your frameworks and your word tracks and everything to say. And like, the more serious you take it, the less your state can have an influence, positive influence on the prospect, right?
Oh,
And they just see right through that, and it's just like a scripted, robotic conversation.
yeah.
Right?
Well, because you're making it all about yourself.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
he's just able to, like on sales calls as well, very, very good at connecting and reading between the lines and really getting somebody's worldview through just even a couple of sentences that they'd say. And with all the skill that he has, that's the skill that he had there, is making it not about himself. He's very, very good at that. Very underrated. And I know he says polarizing things, and I think people can't really see past that sometimes. And we were talking about it in the car. I think I've been very fortunate that I can just, whoever it is, if somebody's got something good to teach, I can see past any sort of idiosyncrasies or weirdness on the surface that might be polarizing for others. I can just see past it and be like, oh, I get the teaching. I get what he's got to say there.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was by far
Amazing.
the most influential person in my sales career. I don't think I'd have achieved the stuff that I have without his kind of vote of confidence in me.
Amazing.
early on.
Yeah.
Because you've got a different style, let's say, to a lot of other mentors and coaches out there in the sales space. Isn't like you lean towards the esoteric side, the spiritual side, some might say the woo-woo side. Where did that come from? Because you've got a rugby background, it would be the last thing that people would expect, maybe to someone to go that side. Where did that come from, and how does that influence your teaching now, sales?
It's one of the things that helped me the most to take quick quantum leaps in not just in sales but in life. So when I stopped playing rugby, that was the first time that I was ever confronted with an identity crisis. It was the first time I'd ever felt that well, who am I? What makes me interesting or different? Because I was always Adam the rugby player, and that's how I got attention or appreciation or kind of any respect. And so that left me with what do I do now, right? Like who the fuck am I? And so I kind of swapped coffee for tea initially. I just latched onto a new identity that was CrossFit. So I competed in CrossFit all over Europe for 3 years after playing rugby, because it was competitive, but nobody's trying to smack you in the mouth. That was good. And it was inside, it was warm. I like that as well. Didn't have to be out in the rain and the snow. And then I think over time, just life experiences outside of sales confronted me with things about myself and my own personality or past or identity that once I overcame them and understood those things, I could see that in others. So I think what I'm getting at here is the misidentification that we have as humans. So I'll try and break this down as simple as I can, but one of the big lessons and one of the things that I'm really big on helping people with now is differentiating between the human that we are and the being that we are. So bear with me. If I ask someone who they are, typically most of the answers will be along the lines of a label. I'm a man from England. I played rugby. I'm a positive person. These are all labels. I'm my father's son. I'm a brother to my right. Even when I did a training on this recently, somebody said a son of God, and I was like, that's cool. That's still an identity, right? It's still a label. How do you know you're a son of God? How do you know that you're a son? What's the opposite? There's a daughter, right? and in that direction there's a father or a mother. So it's always in relation. So that's the human side of us. The problem with that is like, let's take the example of I'm from England. Like, what's England really? Right? I only know that England exists because we drew an imaginary line around our little island, and we kind of all agreed to make this sound in our mouth that says England, and then that's kind of, oh, that's what we're referencing, right? It's like, if you break it down, it's absurd. It's really stupid. And then you can do the same with like son or my name Adam. It's really helpful to have that when I hear that little, frequency, and I turn my head. It's helpful so people don't think I'm a dick and I'm ignoring them, but I'm not really Adam. It's just kind of something we've agreed on. So this is all the human part of us. But then, like, what's the part, if we can change all that, if we can change my name, I can even change my gender nowadays, can't I, right? I can change passports. I can chop my arm off, and now I'm that, like, but I'm still, like, what am I still, right? If I can change all of those, swap all of those out, well, there's a part of us that for millennia we've agreed upon is kind of the soul, right? It's like, we've just, it's a truth that we can't really get past, that when we die, quote unquote, there's a part of us that leaves, and that's ineffable. That's something that's kind of inextricable from the human experience, is the soul that has incarnated into this sort of meat sack that we then layer a bunch of labels and on. Now, the meat sack, the human, if we think about it, is its very nature is constraint, right? So if it's a container for the soul, what is the very nature of a container? Is constraint. It has a limit, right? You and I can't just get up and jump 12 foot in the air. There's a limit. We're limited. And yet the soul that is incarnated into this sort of weird carbon meat sack, it's a boundless, timeless soul that has limitless love, freedom, and possibility. That's its very nature.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is that we come with these limits and constraints, and so we already think and reference ourselves in the world in relation to others and in relation to constraints. So all the limits that we put upon ourselves are self-imposed. We think they come from external reality. We think they come from circumstance. What actually happens is that we attract people and circumstances into our life to show us where we're not yet free. And the game is to overcome those limits and constraints in this dimension. That's kind of why I believe that we came here as souls, is because we can experience these things and overcome those. So what the fuck does this have to do with sales? If the human experience is bound by constraints and limitation, why? Because our imperative as a mammal is to survive. That's all we're wired to do. Then when we have an experience, we will insert that memory of a bad experience of where we almost didn't survive, and this is like physically or as an identity. We'll hold on to that memory. This is literally the only reason we have memory, is so we can insert that into the future as a way to try and avoid it. All the while dragging our past experiences into the future. So I'll land the plane in terms of sales now, okay? I'm trying to give it like as brief but as clear as I can in terms of what this means for us as in the sales realm. Is, let's say, we've got the past, and then we've got the thin sliver of present moment, which is all that has ever existed, and then we've got the future. Let's say I've just hit 10 no sales in a row, and now I'm on a sales call. What do you think the human aspect and the human side of me is going to insert into the future?
Oh, shit.
Past hurt informs future fear.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know Peter Crone's work.
Mr. Peter Crone, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
done all his work, bro. Yeah.
Oh, phenomenal,
Yeah.
right? So if that past experience is what I'm now inserting into the future, well, what do you think's going to happen? Right? So I'm not living life. I'm remembering it. That's also Peter Crone quote. Now, for the soul, for the being side of us, what can happen in the future? Well, for the ego, for the human side of us, uncertainty around the future is fear. But for the being, for the soul side of us, the future is pure possibility. Why? Because there are a billion different outcomes that could happen that are equally possible. The real future to the being, to the soul, is, I don't know. It's pure possibility. Anything could happen. It's equally as possible that you hit 10 sales in a row now, as it is that you hit another 10 no sales, as it is they tell you to fuck off, as it is that they put on a sombrero and a fake mustache and start playing a fucking trumpet. You don't know. Anything can happen.
Infinite possibilities. And this is like a massive mistake that closers make, right? Because how would you advise closers to start harnessing this power that they have to essentially control that and create their reality, right? How can closers tap into that?
Well, firstly, by ceasing to identify as a human. And that sounds like, what?
You speak my language, bro.
How the fuck do you do that? Yeah. Well, you just recognize that your very nature is a timeless, boundless, limitless soul, whose very nature is freedom, love, and possibility, and is living a human experience. And we can have love and compassion for the human experience. The human has needs, wants, and desires, and has its limitations and constraints. And we have to have love and compassion for that. Why? Because otherwise we negate that part of ourselves. And that's what causes the very wanting to be something like, I'm not quite there yet. Like, I need to get better at. The language around that is the very thing that keeps you, it's going to refrain you from getting there. Because you're affirming the fact that you're in lack, right? Yeah. And that's part of the human experience. And so rather than just beat ourselves up for that, like, oh no, don't think that. You need to have love and compassion for it. But we need to recognize that that's the human experience. That's not the human experience that I am. What I am is a boundless, timeless, limitless soul, whose very nature is freedom, love, and possibility.
Yeah.
And if you recognize that and say, I recognize this now with tennis, for example, right? I play a bit of tennis over here. Sometimes I hit a couple of corkers, right? Like right on the sweet spot, great. And then you hit one into the net, and then the other one pings off over there. And then you're like, and I can feel the human side of me saying, oh, here we go, right? And the ball's coming, and you're like, I hope I don't hit this into the net now. That's the human side of me. And I'm able to catch it now immediately and say, it's equally as possible as I hit 10 perfect shots in a row right now. Yeah. And immediately all of the pressure falls off.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. And so in what state are you going to be able to perform better? In a tense, I hope not state, or in a relaxed, let's see state? So as a closer, if we can recognize the human experience, but not identify with it, and remind ourselves that we are a soul, a being that's kind of incarnated into this carbon meat suit. And I think it's hard to disagree with that because of the experience of the human experience of death, of what happens in that moment where we stop breathing and the heart stops beating. Like, that's where something, we can all agree, like something goes somewhere and something stays in this kind of dimension. That's where I think it's really hard to, because I mean, I grew up as somebody who's, in my household, like my dad was very against religion, you know, those gullible fucking idiots thinking there's a big bearded man in the sky. And so I get how attached we can be to this realm and this reality that we think is kind of going on. But I think it's really difficult to deny the existence of the soul, like the soul being side of us, which has been documented for millennia, and like humans have always kind of recognized and seen. And if we can just identify as that, and like that is your very nature. It's all of the human crap piled on top that is getting in the way of what is pure and endlessly possible. Like, that's the thing. And it's not to deny that. That's the important part. If we deny it and we negate that part of ourselves, we try and bury it. And that's the very thing that will reaffirm it and keep it alive. It's having love and compassion for it so that it can just chill the fuck out.
It's inspiring.
What you suppress controls you, right?
Yeah, what you resist persists.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
How did you fall into spirituality? Like, what was a driving force for you?
Was that one moment? Like,
probably all the drugs, mate. I don't know.
Yeah, same bro.
We'll do that to you. We'll do that
to you. No, I don't know if it was that even. It was suffering, I'd say. Yeah. Suffering. So I think COVID was very, very difficult for me because it was just done well in business, and then it was kind of all getting ripped away from me. And the loss of identity that comes through that. It's kind of similar to the stopping playing rugby. because you're forced. I was massively forced to detach from everything. Like I'd made a bunch of money very quickly, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then it's all kind of dwindling and going away, and now I'm in massive debt. And I had no choice but to learn how to detach. And when you start detaching from money, you're starting the process of the disidentification with status, with money, with material possessions. You know, when the beginning of 2020, I came to Colombia just to get out of Germany where I was living at the time, tail end of COVID, massively stressed out, not really doing well. And that's when I decided to become a nomad. And then I went back to Germany, and then two of my last clients bailed out. They were like, Adam, listen, need to step back out of this, because for like legit reasons. But at the time, the only way to sell in clients was like a, you know, no questions asked, money back guarantee. And I'd spent all my money by that point. So I had to find 7,000 euros just to be broke, plus all the shit that I owed as well. So at that point, like, what do you do, man? You know, like I've got no choice but to detach. I had to be like, I had 160 euros in my bank account. I took it out in cash so that no like direct debit could take it. And I went 2 months on 160 euros in cash. Like you cannot keep up a facade of being someone or something at that point. So if you were able to like start the process of releasing the control that these things have over us, of wanting money, needing money, desiring money, or status, or like even just fucking a haircut, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like your looks, your everything. That I think was the thing that started the process. And then obviously then you start learning a little bit more in sales, because sales I think is probably one of the best personal development
100%.
tools out there, the best paying, that's for sure. And you get confronted with these aspects of your personality, and then it begs the question, where does that come from? And then obviously through books and teachings, and you kind of fall into it a little bit, and it worked and helped me. I think there are some people that never really resonate with it. You know, if we look at Alex Hormozi, who has huge influence over our space and our kind of our avatar, let's say our peers, that never resonated with him. And that's okay. What resonates with him is behavioral things, which are incredibly useful and functional, and they've helped as well. But I've never been able to get away from the energetic feeling behind my actions and words that I can't quite contradict if I'm not feeling it, right? So, you know, that camp will talk about doing things regardless of how you feel. Well, how I feel really does genuinely dictate how well I do something. And I've never really been able to escape that fact. So if I look at the energetics behind it, that's when you start unwinding the thread. And it took me probably way too long to accept that as well. Like I feel very comfortable saying that now, whereas a couple of years ago I'd have thought, nah, I've got it wrong. If Alex is saying this, fucking hell. Yeah. Right? Alex is a guy. Yeah. And he's espousing what has worked for him. And what has worked for him has given him what he has. But I think a big realization for me recently was in that Tony Robbins podcast that everybody was talking about. The penny finally dropped that I can't want what someone has if I wouldn't want their life. And that was when the penny finally dropped. Like I like enjoying life. That's cool. That's okay. Right? That doesn't mean that I'm never going to make money because, well, here I am. Right? Yeah. So I think it's a lot of that. It's like just anecdotal experience, pulling on threads, and having a natural sort of questioning of things.
Just while we're on the topic of ego, like, have you done psychedelics before?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your experience been?
Brian, have you done You haven't, have you? No.
Is this recording?
Only
that's all right to ask me though, right?
Only about 100 kilos of shrooms.
Oh, yeah, that's another pod. Yeah,
it's another pod.
Yeah. So I've done ayahuasca. I've done only 6 ceremonies, so not a whole lot. But my experience was very insightful, and it does. It's odd that how common the theme is, or the experience is across so many different people of the different things that they see and feel and experience without kind of having spoken to each other about it. So that I found quite profound, in that, in breaking down the illusion of reality and what we sort of think and feel is kind of normal, and like how much there is to question, and so that helped in that regard. I think it was incredibly hard to integrate into real life. That's something I've found now, that psychedelics can be a tool for some. It's not a great tool for me. I just find the integration part really hard. I need like my conscious mind to help me with that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
For sure.
Because we can only really perceive like 1% or a tiny morsel of reality of our conscious mind, right?
Yeah.
Getting a glimpse into the unconscious, you're just like, what the hell is this now that I'm surrounded by?
Yeah.
But there's a big stigma around like spirituality and the esoteric side, not just with closers, but the whole population, right? There's a lot of people that like to shun it. So like for closers, what would be the most simplified, instant like action or practice they can take to start integrating this world into their sales performance, right?
So I think that firstly, the disidentification with the human experience. So part of the human experience is anything that's based in what we would call, quote unquote, reality and circumstance, which means money, status, leaderboards. The second thing would be questioning what they think that they want, in an effort to not want. That's hard. So what do I mean by that? I hopped in the sauna. I was in the sauna. Was it day before yesterday at Kin, and I'd been in there for 15 minutes, about to leave, and a guy comes in who's a closer.
Is it Farouk?
Yeah. I was trying to keep his name out of it, but there you go. Yeah, it was Farouk. We can just bleep that out.
Bleep it
surely.
out.
Yeah. It was Farouk, yeah. Did he tell you about this or something?
Well, he told me that he met you the other day, so I was just putting two together. I didn't know it was going to be a,
Yeah.
juicy
It was
story.
nothing bad. I just don't know. I don't have his permission to tell him about
You'll be
the
fine with
conversation, but we'll roll.
It's famous now.
It's nothing bad. I think everybody will have something to relate to it, and he's a good dude, so I'm sure he won't have any issue with it. But he jumped in. I was like, how's it going? Throwing him under the bus. Have you done drugs? This guy, fucking hell, Spanish Inquisition here. So we hopped in the sauna. Like, how's it going, man? You good? Yeah. What was it he said? He said two things, and I was like, fuck. I got to stay in now. And I've got max 15 minutes before I pass out. He said, yeah, good, man. Just locking in and grinding at the moment. Something along those lines. So I was like, here we go. So I said, really, yeah? Why is that? And he said, he thought about it as well. And he said, it's what I need in this season of life. So I said, really? Why is that? He said, I'm not there yet. I really, I'm in sales, and it's the first time I've invested heavily in coaches, and I'm not on my goals yet. I'm not quite there yet. I said, really, yeah? What would Farouk 5 years ago say to the life that Farouk's living right now? And that's when he started, shit, yeah, and thought about it that way. But I'm not quite there yet. I said, well, where is it that you're supposed to be? Now, the issue that a lot of closers have is that they have a narrative of, I need to lock in. So my question to him was, who told you that? Mm-hmm. And he couldn't really find an answer. Why? Because it's inferred. It's inferred by our peers on social media and the content that we consume. It's not a...
He's my best friend, so we had this conversation many times. We lived together for like months and months, so
yep.
We're on the same wavelength, and now I'm starting to slowly break free and question what is locking in, and like, is that really conducive to your wannabe? So continue.
Yeah. Is it something that you actually genuinely want, or is it something you've been told that you should want? Because if you don't, you won't amount to anything, and you'll confirm the original belief that you probably have that you're not quite good enough.
Self-fulfilling.
Why else did we get into this competitive environment of sales? Why did we fall into it? Why did it choose us? Right? Why did we attract this into our lives? Probably because it would confront us with beliefs that we already carried and constraints with which we arrived, that we're not quite good enough, and that we need to perform to be worthy of love and respect and adoration from others. Right? And so that would be something I would do as well. I would genuinely question, are the things that I'm telling myself actually things that I'm wanting and are emerging from inside, or are they coming from outside? Now, it's okay to get inspired by others. That's fine. But am I grounded enough in myself to be able to filter that through the lens of what's coming up from here? It's very direct. It's very visual for me, at least. It's like there are things that come up, aren't there? If you really sit down, if anybody's done like a life vision exercise, right? If you really do it well with a bit of quiet and time, it arises. It feels like, for me at least, it feels like it comes from there and it comes out. And then there's stuff that comes in. So I would, to your point, to your question, I would do my very best to question really hard the things that I'm telling myself, consciously or unconsciously. Obviously, the consciously ones are the easier ones of I need to lock in, I'm not there yet, I need to work harder, I need to grind, I need to sacrifice. Because I was just telling about a little trip that we've been on with the boys to Cartagena and how my social life has just been incredible since I've been in Medellin the last 2 years, and the circle that I have and the close friends that I have, and how that's just accelerated my personal growth in ways that I would never have guessed if I were just locked in my room on Zoom all day. Yeah. And I think that's where there's a lot of treasure to be sought out 100%. From closers.
Because like the word locking in, working hard, what does it imply? Like grinding, like suffering, right? Like, are we doing this to suffer? Are we doing this to like self-actualize and reach our potential, right? Feel good, feel content, feel fulfilled.
Yep. Who told you that you can't have both?
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously there's this is something I coach on as well, is how to balance those two worlds. If that's what you're into. If you want to lock in and you want to do the Alex Hormozi route, and because I think what people miss is the extent and the levels of acceptance that Alex has for his work and his quote unquote suffering. So acceptance is a very high vibrational frequency, right? I don't think he's no longer in low vibrational frequencies. If you guys, check out the vibrational frequency chart, or you get your editors to zap it in. I don't think he's in, the lower levels of grief and guilt and shame and even anger and desire, which I'm sure they're really good fuels. They certainly fueled me in the past, but they have a limit, a dirty fuel, and it runs out. I think what he has is an incredible level of acceptance for his circumstances that he's created for himself. That's a high vibrational frequency. That's fucking you're doing great if that's the case. If you are locking in and you've deeply accepted that, because that's genuinely what you want, and you wouldn't want it any other way, fucking A, I think you're doing well. For me, that caused an awful lot of suffering, because I was trying to apply restraint and robbing myself of things that are very energizing. And it's like, if I'm really not wanting to do it, why am I doing it? Like, not here for too long, honestly.
Exactly.
Sorry, bro. What do you think's more important, state or skill as a closer?
You can have phenomenal state and even will and desire to ski down a black run. If you don't have the skill to do it, you're gonna fucking kill yourself. It's gonna end badly. So I think you need both. Typically, where I'll start if I'm working with someone and they're off, is I'll always look at their energy first, because that's typically the underlying thing that's blocking the skill. But I typically work with people that are a little bit more advanced anyway. I'm not very good with beginners. I'm a little bit too far away from it, and I can't. I got super lucky. I got most opportunities came to me. I'm sure some might say that, some might say, I don't know. It seemed to me that I was very, very fortunate, and I never really had to sit down and strategize how to land a role, or how to get my next opportunity, or how to get into management. People have asked me, and I'm like, I don't know, bro. I just got asked. I think I know why because I had to, I deconstructed it then. I was like, why was it me and not someone else? So I think I know, but for somebody who's starting out, probably skill, because there's three levels of competency or skill that I've seen in closers. The first being what to say. That's the base level skill that you need. It's what words should come out of your mouth. The second layer is deeply understanding why those words and those questions and not others. And the third is deeply understanding what you're hearing in response.
Yeah.
Now, level 1 is just about like kind of learning and skill, and you can kind of do it. I mean, I mean, in the beginning, I certainly closed deals hungover and whatnot. Do you know what I mean? So you can get away with it. And then I think as it progresses, when you have a base layer of skill, which can always get better, the thing that will stop the skill from coming out is your state or your energy or what's going on in your head. So which is more important depends on what you need.
Yeah, because I feel like your skill is only as strong as your state, right? Because like I probably had a similar start and closing to you. Like my first month had no skill, no training, no formal closing training. And I did like nearly 11K commissions my first month. And that was just through connecting with prospects on a deep level. And you obviously had a quick rise as well. So like, what do you think shaped that quick rise for you in your results as a closer? Was it the skill or the state?
It was belief, yeah. It was that weird belief that I had. Like, it wasn't even a belief, it was a worldview. It was just like, that's the way the world is. There's
Retard
no
maxing
way.
as well.
Massively. It's like, there's no way. Why would they
Delusional
come?
confidence, right?
Yeah. I said, why would they come and why would they be talking to me if they don't want to buy?
Yeah.
That's what a strange existence. Why would you spend an hour with someone? Some stranger on the internet? Like, genuinely, watch some content, dive into their stuff, click on some links, listen to what they got to say, watch a couple videos, then hit the book a call button, fill out your details, look at the calendar, cross-check your calendar. Do you see how much effort goes into and then cross-check your calendar, then have it in your calendar, actually show up at that time, have that top of mind, the presence of mind to actually be there, to not buy? Bro, I was like, no, there's no way. I just refused to believe it.
So you were
It
practicing
didn't fit in my
like,
world view.
You were practicing like Peter Crone's work before.
Somehow. So that probably, there was that side of it. So the belief, I think that your underlying beliefs, and I've seen this in other closes. I brought a guy on that first offer I managed. I hired him. He's gone on to be a really good manager now. He's just managing a team that's doing over $1 million a month and all that. But when he came to me, he'd been a closer for 4 weeks on another offer, and then he'd come to me. I don't know why I hired him, honestly. I was like, I'll just take him under my wing. It'll be my little project. I'll keep him away from the calls and that. And so I just had him like setting his own things and stuff. And yeah, basically. And then shortly after, one of the guys on the team was then off for 2 weeks. I was like, all right, John, is your chance? I said, but only 4 slots a day. Because I was like, you're not burning through my calls, mate. So he goes, what am I supposed to do with the rest of the day? I was like, I don't know. Just fucking set. I don't know. And he's like, let me do 6. So I was like, all right. I said, if you close 5 deals in the first week, I'll let you. And he closed 6 deals in his first week, when everybody else was doing like 4 on average, you know? It's like, the hell? So then I watch his calls. They were so bad. I couldn't watch them, mate. It was all, the order was all jumbled and it was all wrong, and it hurt my ears. So I was like, I can't review calls, mate. Just whatever. I told him, I don't know what you're doing. People keep saying yes to you, so just keep doing whatever you're doing. So, and he broke all company records 3 months, and he broke his own record 3 months in a row.
Incredible.
Yeah. So he had a couple of very firm beliefs, and these he was a little bit more conscious about. He would write them down. So the first one was, they're on the call for a reason, and they need to make a change. So he was similar to me. Like, he was adamant, there's no way that on this call, if they don't, there's either something that they want and don't have, or have and don't want in their life. There's no way they're just gathering information and just, kind of gathering research. There's no way. There's not a chance. You wouldn't believe it. The second is that if they're a fully grown, overage adult in a relatively developed country, they can and will find the money to change their life. Like, you could not argue otherwise with him. And the last was that he was a bad person if he let them off the hook with at least someone that was just fearful. So that means now he's taken all the power back to him. It's like, it's not their fault. Oh, they're a pussy, or it's not their fault. It's my fault. So those were like his top 3 that I could see in him, and he was quite intentional especially about the first one. So that did get him quite far. Of course, he did kind of know how to close a deal and how to present and pitch, right? So there's a base level of skill there still, but it was definitely his beliefs carried him more than anything else. I wouldn't even say state, because he was fucking rolling out of bed, hopping on calls,
Wow.
playing chess during the day. It was just online chess and just weird stuff. It's a very strange man, but
Autistic, huh?
oh man, it's hugely on the spectrum, mate. Yeah,
That's
right
probably
up
why
there.
you couldn't like vibe a bit, like you couldn't like understand.
Yeah, but I think that's what
But
I
it's
enjoy
a really
about.
advanced level, maybe. Like,
Maybe he's just got maybe he sees something that we
different
don't.
level.
But yeah, I think that's something I got from my dad as like man management. I didn't then try and beat him into a pulp and like try and make him fit some sort of process or system, or I just like, as long as you're showing up and closing deals, mate, just keep doing it. Just crack on. Keep doing what you're doing.
Big thing I wanted to chat on was like burnout, because like it's such a prevalent thing, and I've experienced burnout a million times as a closer. You would know, as my manager for a long time.
Fucking edging there right now, not gonna lie.
And a lot of closers go through that, right? But what do you think really attributes burnout? Like, where do you think it comes from, and how can a closer navigate it and avoid burnout?
Yeah, doing something that they think that they should be doing or have to. So I know this from me. All of the fuel that drove me to become a professional rugby player, even I played internationally for the Spanish national team, to be, a sponsored CrossFit athlete, to most of the things that I've been able to achieve up until about 2022, so not even that long ago, was through an underlying sort of belief or program that was running of, I have to be the best, otherwise I won't be worthy of any love or attention, or I won't be special, right? And I'll just like not exist. Basically, I won't get any attention or love or appreciation from the world. And so that was very much a have to, because why? Because if you're not loved as a baby, do you guys know the story of it was Louis XIV times in France, and they wanted to find out what language a baby would speak if nobody spoke to it. So what language? Like they thought, well, it probably speaks French because we speak to it in French. I wonder what language it will speak if nobody speaks. So they never found out, because the babies kept on dying because nobody would talk to them.
Wow.
Right? So love and connection is quite literally survival. It's necessary for our survival, especially in early stages. So anyway, back to the point. Is the underlying program that was running for me is, I have to, otherwise I won't be loved. And this obviously came from as a kid, when I felt that love and attention from my parents was when I was really good at sport, right? I would hear them say he's the fastest. Do you remember when being fast in your class was like super important?
Yeah, status. Yeah,
that was me, bro. And that's me. Fastest kid in the class.
we'll do a race after.
Yeah. Oh, not now, mate. Not with my fucking knee and hip. And it was like, I would hear this, like, he's really good at football, he's really good at sports, he's really good at this. Oh, they're talking about me in a positive light, right? On the flip side, I was very forgetful as a kid. So, he's always forgetting his jump. He'll leave a jumper and he's lost. My mum used to count them off. He's lost X amount of jumpers, watches, this, that, and the other as a kid. And it's like, fuck. Right? So I get good reviews when I do this, and I get bad reviews when I'm this. So I'll do more of this. So the underlying program was have to. Now, that will get you only so far. But it's like pushing a boulder up a hill. It's kind of like self-flagellating. It's whipping yourself into motion and into action. So the thing that shifted for me, I worked with a coach who, eternally grateful for, Dan Goldfield, absolute legend, who helped me, and no idea how he does it, honestly, because I would just hop on Zoom and talk to him for an hour a week. Didn't really seem like we're doing anything, but we did a lot. Is he kind of helped me change the program from a have to a want to. And the way it happened by sort of like just removing that programming and getting me to realize, like, you don't have to do absolutely anything. And this was a process of a couple of weeks of him, like, it really sinking in, because like I remember hopping on a call once and thinking, like, I've got him. I do have to do stuff. So I said, what do I do? It's like, what do they call it? Logic trapping. Right? I was objection handling. I was like, I got him. So I said, but I do have to do stuff, Dan. Like I have to work. I have to do something because I have to pay bills and like eat food and stuff. Otherwise, I'm like, how do I feed myself and give myself shelter? Like we have to do something. He said, don't. He said, you can go and live with the Buddhists, with the monks. So I did for 5 years. Some of the happiest people on earth. They won't ask for a penny. You can go and do that. I was like, so I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. He said, okay, so you opt into capitalism. I was like, motherfucker. So it is a choice. Yeah. So that really got me thinking. I was like, fuck, I don't have to do anything. So then I didn't do anything for a while. He was like, you could, if you wanted to, you could get super fat and lie in bed all day. What's going to happen? It's like, well, I don't want that. He's like, how do you know? So it was a very strange period, and it only took me about 4 weeks. He told me that his process took about 8 months, which would have been fucking tragic. But for about 4 weeks, I was just like, what's the point? It was crazy. I was just looking at the ceiling like, what's the point? Why bother going to the gym? Like, what's this obsession with me like being fit and strong? And just couldn't figure it out. I'd literally roll out, 4 weeks, I'd roll out of bed, hop on a meeting, roll back into bed, watch Netflix, just couldn't see the point in anything. And he told me, he said, the bravest thing you can do now is absolutely nothing. He said, why? At some point, you'll get a little bit tired of that. And you'll be like, run out of toilet paper, I need to nip out. And you know what I mean? And then you'll be like, oh, don't really like the way I feel right now. Feel like moving. And you'll go for a walk. And then you'll be like, oh, I'm getting a bit skinny now. Feel like going to the gym. And that's what happened. And I just reinserted things into life that I wanted to do. In the absence of I have to, because the underlying program was like, I have to go to the gym because I can't get fat because I'll like, what will people think, right? I won't get any respect or attention or adoration. So the process was everything that is a have to, if you can just remove that programming and change it into a want to, it's a self-perpetuating energy. It creates more of itself. You want to do more then. I go to the gym because I genuinely want to. I'd like it. I don't feel any obligation to do so. Has anybody gotten burnt out from the gym?
Exactly.
Probably not, right? So then in the sales environment, I'll land the plane back into sales again now. I'll give you a quick example of that. In that period, I had to hire 2 guys for the offer I was managing. And I was like, oh, I couldn't be asked. I was like, oh, I'll do this again. And he's like, well, why do you have to? I was like, because you got to grow the company. And he's like, okay. He said, well, I mean, do the guys on your team like being on your team? He's like, yeah, no, I think they do enjoy it. He said, okay, well, are there maybe 2 guys out there that are hating their sales, have a shitty manager, selling a shitty offer that would be a lot better served on your team? I was like, you bastard. So it turned it into, it was a stewardship thing. It wasn't a have to. I turned it into, he reframed me on turning it into a want to. I wanted to then, because then doing the work to go out and like recruiting and hiring and onboarding and training was then cool. Cause I was like, I'm doing them a fucking favor.
Yeah. 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not, whatever, but it turned what the have to was into a want to.
Yeah.
And so that's where the woo-woo side of things come into it, where you can start questioning your have tos. What's the underlying programming? What's the unspoken? I have to. Otherwise, what? What's the unspoken part? The unspoken part will be the underlying belief that is perpetuating the obligation. So if you can just finish the sentence, and for me, it was like, why do I have to go to the gym? Why do I have to be the fucking best at everything? Because otherwise, what's special about me? How will anybody love it? Validation. Exactly. Yes, exactly.
It's like a therapy session.
With yourself.
I think I am the best.
It's just natural.
Not the fastest anymore, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll have to have no, not with my knee and hip, mate. I ain't doing that. Definitely not.
No, that's really inspiring, to be honest. And so closers that might be feeling burnt out right now, there's obviously millions. Like, what's the biggest advice you'd give to them?
Get your finances in order. This is something I feel really strongly about now, and I actually want to create more content and do more about now, because I did a YouTube video on it once. I think it doesn't, when we don't talk about it enough. We talk a lot about like making money in sales, and nobody's teaching anybody how to keep and manage it.
Super important.
So what happens? I earn 10K, I spend 10K, and I can finally invest in that program. And then I maybe don't get an ROI on it, or maybe I do, maybe I don't, etc. They just closers just stay stuck, and that's stressful. That's really stressful. And the biggest alleviation of financial stress that I ever had was when I reduced my monthly fixed costs. This was like when I was doing the nomad thing and I was super broke, down to 700 euros. That's all. And this, I was sleeping on mates' couches and all this kind of stuff, right? I had 700 euros to get like, medical insurance, whatever
Spend
the
that on dinner tonight.
I know, bro.
yeah, different seasons of life, right? But oh my god, like the thought, like I just have to like find 700 euros to have, I obviously haven't ate anything yet then, but like I'm covered, just 700. I can do that. When it's 5k, it's like fucking right. Every month I got to do that just to be broke. That's stressful. So the first thing I would do is get your finances in order, and it's something I'm coaching more on as well, and I want to do more about, because I think that that's so much easier to detach from money when you genuinely don't need the money, right? Or you at least have a system and a structure in place, and you've given it some time and energy and attention. Who's been in that situation? And I know that I was for a long time, where you don't even like you tapping your card somewhere and you're like, fuck, I hope this goes through. Why? Because you don't even know how much is in your account, because you're avoiding it, right? Because it brings up guilt and shame and apathy and fear, and then that turns into desire, right? So the guilt and the shame might drive you into a state of anger, right? Which is a slight raise in your vibrational frequency because of the fear that you're feeling around money, which will then turn into desire. Desire is still a low frequency state. That would be the first thing, because I think that's the biggest alleviation of immediate stress, is at least having a system. And there's a very simple bucket system. Until I, do more to help guys, I'll just say there was a book that I read from Rob Moore. It was called Money, and it was like, the subtitle is like, make more, have more, be more, something like that. And it explained this bucket systems. Like I applied it and it worked. Who would have thought?
So good.
Where you just divvy up, you know your fixed costs per month, and then you divvy up your net income minus your fixed costs. So your variable income, you divvy it up into different buckets and you give them different percentages. So one bucket is like, save and don't touch. Another one is irregular shock. So those are two different savings buckets, right? Save and don't touch is like just having 3 or ideally 6 months worth saved up. Irregular shock is car breaks down, or sudden tax bill, or these annoying things that, suddenly I got to fly home because something's happened, right? And those things fuck your budget for the month if you haven't planned for it.
Yeah.
Then investments, so little bits and pieces into the S&P 500, Warren Buffett's advice on that, around that, is so simple. I think most people they think it's too simple. Just put what you can into the S&P 500 and shut the fuck up, leave it, right? Then a bucket for coaching, like save up for the coaching. Don't just think abundance and throw it all in, right? And put yourself in under stress unnecessarily. If that's your jam, fucking do it. I don't care, right? But like, this is what helped me and what I think can help with burnout. And then you have a percentage for your variable, like food and Uber and whatnot, and you divvy that up into 4 if you're okay with money, and you put it into a separate jar, and you give yourself your weekly allowance, and you gamify it. Like, can I keep to it? Sometimes you won't, and you need to take a little bit more out. Okay. And then you figure out why. And sometimes you're under, you're like, fuck, nice. It becomes fun. If you're really bad, like I was in the beginning, I would give myself a daily budget. I couldn't do it weekly. I'd fucking blow it. Right? Until I learned, until I gave it some effort and attention. That'd be the first thing. The second thing would be to recognize and not even ask yourself, where am I saying I have to? Just remind yourself, you don't have to do anything. You do not have to get to 20K per month in the next 30 days. You don't have to be in sales. You don't have to be a closer. You don't have to live this life. You don't have to do anything. So if you're feeling burnt out because of what you're doing, just remind yourself you don't have to do it. Now, if you really want to, that's different. But then remind yourself why you want to. And I believe that the best fuel comes from having selfish and unselfish goals. So if I have purely selfish goals, that's a recipe for burnout, because it's all about me, and my goals and my, and you just leave the rest of the world behind. And what it does on the spiritual side is it creates separation. So I feel separate from the whole, right? And that's, if I'm separate from the whole, I have no choice but to survive. And that's a primitive instinct of ours of when we were hunter-gatherers as well, that if we were separated from the tribe, we did die alone in the woods, and that's still burned into our genetics. That's why we like to kind of fit in slightly. Like we're all kind of dressed similar, aren't we? Right? Like we kind of talk similar. That's why we fit into groups. It's why one of the people's biggest fears is public speaking. Because if I speak up in front of the crowd, I run the risk of being marginalized, mocked and marginalized. Mocked and marginalized means separated from this whole, die alone in the woods, right? That's all fears come back to that. So purely selfish goals, there's a limit. It won't work. Purely unselfish, I'll translate that into a lack of worthiness. I don't believe that I deserve. So you guys ever been on a sales call when somebody's saying, I want to make that money so that I can give back to my community, or I can give it to this person, or I can do that with it for these people. The underlying belief for that is I don't deserve anything for myself. And so that also they don't buy either, do they? You notice that? No. Right? Yeah. Why would the universe give you something that you feel you don't deserve? Yeah. So I think you need a mixture of both. You need to have something that's a little bit selfish, like I want to hit these goals because of this thing. So if you can get clear on what that is and deeply reconnect with what that why, what the selfish why and the unselfish why is, I think you'll find a new lease of life. And then the last thing I'll say is never confuse someone's way with the way. So I've also seen a lot of people I've worked with that burnout, or this resistance to whatever it is that they have resistance to, comes from either financial stress or from just no real reason why they want to, or it's either financial stress, lack of clarity, or they're just trying to be someone that they're not. So they're trying to do it someone else's way. They're trying to look like someone, be like someone. And again, I think what it translates into is a lack of grounding in who they actually are and what they're here to do. So I'll give you an example. I've had I've been rekindled this sort of newfound energy in how I'll tackle creative problems or things that I need to create or make, or like even processes. I had to build out like a back-end mastermind ascension sales process for the offer that I manage. And I used to do it on Google Docs because that's kind of what everybody does. And I got re-inspired by Taki Moore recently, who does a lot of sketching and drawing and models. That's my shit. That's my jam. I fucking love that. So I bought a big ass roll of paper. I can even send you the photo. Your editor can swipe it in. Big ass roll of brown paper on my kitchen island, and marker pens, and I mapped it out, and it took me about 20 minutes, and I had a whole back end ascension process. I had scripts, I had ideal avatar, automations, triggers, tracking, everything, and it was all sketched out in like models, like circles and triangles and squares and grids, and it would have taken me 2-3 hours on Google Docs. And it was an example for me, a reminder of, who the fuck says I need to do anything on Google Docs? Right? Why can't I just get some marker, like some coloring pens and draw it?
Yeah.
Like, says who? It was so fucking energizing. I fucking loved it. A bit of music going on in the background. The best 20 minutes of my day.
Sick.
And it took me 20 minutes. So just because somebody else, Cole Gordon has these crazy Google Docs with all this, bullet points and sub-bullet points, which makes a lot of structured sense for him. I'll tell you what I recognize with it is that is fantastic for organizing thoughts. So writing or typing, because we go from the top left to the bottom right in a structured way, it's fantastic for organizing thoughts, but it's not very good for creating. For creative, anything that you need to create from the middle out is what works for me. So anyway, to go back to the original point, financial stress, selfish, unselfish goals. Don't confuse someone's way with the way. Just because it works doesn't mean it has to work for you. So those are 3, I think, uncommon things that you might hear about tackling burnout.
It's refreshing though, because speaking to Bogdan Mikov, he has a really eye-opening perspective on burnout. Right, he says it's not physical whatsoever; it's all emotional.
Of course it is. It's resistance.
Exactly.
That's how I define high performance. Like, because high performance is something that gets banded around a lot, and it's just, for me at least, it's a lack of resistance. You're just doing the thing.
And we got deep into my goals as well. And I said, yeah, like I want to be 30K a month consistently in comms as a closer. He was like, is that really your goal though? And it kind of got to the point where it's not my goal, it's someone else's goal. Because imagine if social media, imagine if all this kind of outside influence wasn't there, would I really want to be making 30K or 50K a month? Would that be really a goal? You know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
What did you land on? What did you land on
28.
as a goal?
What do you mean?
As your goal?
As my actual goal, yeah. Like peace,
Mm.
you know, like actual peace. Like it doesn't have to be tied to monetary outcome or any kind of peace. In my sales career has been me being the best, trying to get to the best of my ability, beating everyone else. That's been my peace. And now it might have to be something different, right? That's why I'm moving countries and, you know, trying to find myself.
I think that's what we're all looking for. But
that's
we
what
collapse the two. We collapse money with peace.
Yeah.
Because that's what we look for in this consistency. I want to sell on an offer that's got good, solid fulfillment. And I know what you're saying. You want peace in what you're selling, right? I want to hit 20K months, peace. Yeah. And what was the other thing you said? You said peace, and then peace for you was beating other people.
In a sense, that competitive, because I've got a football background. I played at high level, similar to like rugby, but I wasn't professional. But so yeah, competition is a big part of my life. I'm just being a master in my own skill, but also beating everyone else on the pitch. And I've carried that into my sales, and that's just who I am. That's my identity, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's also the masculine energy release. It's what the masculine energy is ultimately looking to do. So masculine energy is very directional. It's like from here to there, but what it's ultimately looking for is a release. So that's why we fucking dig sports, and like when you score a goal or score a try, it's like it's like orgasm. It's like it's a release. And that's what the masculine energy is looking for. The feminine energy is looking for connection, which is more of a nurturing, which is why, you know, it's a relatively male dominant, because masculine and feminine energy doesn't have to do with necessarily with masculine and feminine, but it does, male and female, it just kind of does generally on the whole. But that feeling of being better than others or beating someone, or like it's a masculine energy release, which is normal and natural. It's normal and natural. And this is a big learning for me as well, especially this year, is not to negate and not to deny that. Like if you're a guy, you're probably predominantly masculine energy, not necessarily, right? Like you can be a very balanced or have a more feminine energy. That's like, it's just, we're all different. But if you have a masculine energy, like, fucking get angry. So fucking what? Like, why not? Why can't I be loud and a bit of a dick sometimes? Like, it's just part, like, as long as nobody does. Of course, you know, my right to express myself the right to swing your fist kind of ends at the end of the other guy's nose, right? Sure. But like, so what? I'm angry. That pissed me off. Cool.
It's interesting, bro. You know, it's funny. We all are seeking peace, you know, and going to what you said as well about like, I have to get this. And beneath it is like, I have to get this because that's the constraint.
Yes.
And the 30K beneath it was whatever limiting belief you have, and you collapse the 30K with the dissolution of that belief, right?
Correct.
Beneath it.
Yep.
It's very interesting.
Yep.
This podcast has been, excuse me, so enlightening in many ways, because I was in Peter Crone's work for years, you know, and studying non-duality, Advaita Vedanta, all of that stuff.
Yep.
And then when I transitioned to sales, I almost lost all that side of me. And I've noticed like my stress level just subtly increase and increase and increase. And I'm like, I have to get to this goal. I have to get to that goal. I have to get to that goal. I'm like, why? And I'm realizing now it's all the limited beliefs coming back in again.
Yes.
You know, it's a trap.
Yeah. You attracted.
I quit.
Well, you attracted the people and circumstances to show you where you're not yet
For sure,
quite
bro.
free. But it's also because the sales realm, if you think about it, is a very human and ego driven or derived industry field, let's say. So like, think about, how would you sell a monk anything? They don't fucking want or need anything, do they?
Yeah.
So how would you? Why? Because they don't identify and they don't fall prey to the human experience, which is based in limits, constraints, and therefore needs, wants, and desires. The needs, wants, and desires come from the constraints and the desire to survive, right? So I need more money or more status to live, to survive in this environment, right? So naturally, when you're learning the skill of sales, you're learning to, I almost said manipulate, but you're learning to play, you heard it, didn't you? But you're learning to to leverage, that's the best word. You're learning to leverage the human experience that is lack and scarcity and fear and desires, which are low frequency states. So therefore it would stand to reason that you would fall prey to it yourself, wouldn't you?
100%.
Now, I do believe that you can sell from a higher vibrational frequency, and you can help pull people up into a state of courage and neutrality and willingness. I think that's where people make good, solid purchasing decisions and don't charge back 7 days. But it stands to reason, and I see it. It's easy to get drawn back into that because it's a world of doing. It's a world of having. It's not a world of being. It's very, very different.
It's impressive. No? I mean, like, if you don't fully understand yourself as a closer, then you can never understand the prospects on a deeper level, and you can never really resonate and do well in sales, I feel like, right?
But even understanding oneself, again, the understanding is part of like, I'm trying to like hold on to knowledge. It's not, I really don't think it's even understanding. It's recognizing and disidentifying with the human experience, and thinking that you're a human. Like you're not, you're a soul, you're a being, your nature is limitless possibility. Like you can do and be anything in this dimension within the constraints of obviously the physical constraints. But if you understand that that's part of the human experience, and you can observe and love that about yourself, but not identify with it, it sounds simple. It's super hard, obviously. But I think that's where you can then see it in others, because you can distance yourself. You can't, like, it's hard to see this microphone. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to see your own eyeballs. It's not until you have some sort of separation and distance from something that you can see it clearly. So I don't think it's even an understanding. It's a distancing. It's a, and these processes are like revelatory. They're not they're not additive. They're not, you're not adding knowledge. This is why I was just mindful of the word understand, because it sounds like an addition of knowledge. What most closers that I at least work with, again, and there's a beginning phase where you need to learn some sort of a script, right? And from there, what most guys need to do when they get over the hump, the bell curve that I was talking about, is they need to unlearn an awful lot of stuff. That goes for sales as in life. There's an awful lot of constraints and limits and beliefs that we need to unlearn and just kind of like brush off the poor old human that's covering up the being that we are. That's the revelatory. Because I think when we talk about this stuff, at least for the right person at the right time, these things, like my conversation with Farouk in the sauna, I even said this to him, none of this is striking you as new, is it? It's like you're remembering what I'm saying, isn't it? Why? Because it's always been there. You've always known this. Even like if you want to get really woo-woo, before you were even quote unquote born, which, you know, to the Buddhists, we're never born and we never die. We just kind of change physical form. But when you really unpack these things, they don't, Peter Crone's work, for example, when you hear it, you're not like, wow, I never thought. It hits you here as, I remember this. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
100%.
Why? Because that is the true nature.
Yeah.
But we try and add skills and knowledge and understanding, all the while it's like covering up the natural being that you are. That's
what do you feel like is the biggest thing, because you've obviously coached a lot of closers in your time, what's the biggest thing they need to unlearn, do you feel like? The most common theme that you've seen?
The first thing that came to mind was they need to unlearn trying to sound like their fucking sales trainer. Jesus Christ.
Yo.
Yeah.
They need to unlearn that, for starters. What's the biggest thing that they need to unlearn? Yeah, I think they need to unlearn being rigid in the sales process that they learned. Right? This sounds really weird now. So you learn the base layer of what to ask. You learn exactly why to ask it. And now you really need to hone in on learning what you're hearing. And if you listen to someone hard enough, what you hear is their mindset. What you want to do is not listen to what they say, but listen to what they mean. Listen to the words behind the words they say. Now, to be able to do that, you need to unlearn being rigid with the first layer, which is what to say, and then be more fluid and present with what's happening with them and trying to see the world through their eyes. So that would be one. So yeah, unlearn sounding like your sales trainer. Secondly, unlearn being rigid with the sales process that you have, and unlearn telling yourself false truths. Like, I have to get to 20K. I need to lock in. They'll even cheat themselves and say, I want to master sales. It's like, is that what do you have that as a poster on your wall as a child? Like, you know, there's something behind that. So,
beautiful.
Unlearning the things that they're telling themselves, the false truths.
We've only got a few minutes, but random one, little quick fire time.
Go on, then.
Let's say you had one offer and you had to get one closer to get you 1 million a month. Which closer, past, present, are you picking, and why?
Bogdan.
Yeah,
Bogdan. Yeah, he's been on. He's worked on offers that I've managed, and yeah, they don't make him like Bogdan.
What
anymore,
separates
mate.
him from the rest, though? Because obviously I worked with him directly as coached me. Unreal guy. What separates him, do you think?
One of the things that separates him is his understanding of reality and what it's not. So this is someone that's genuinely learned to not be bound by the constraints of the human side that he is. So that's very special about him, because that means that he's able to. It's not even a belief in himself. It's just a bending of reality to, if that's what I want to do and that's the goal, then I'll do it. Wow. So he doesn't really limit himself in any way. So with Bogdan, you'll never get any sort of, he'll be able to give you feedback. Like, he was able to give really good constructive feedback on, like, we need this pre-call, or, the leads are like this, but it was never in terms of a limitation. It was always very constructive. So that would be one thing. It was never I can't hit the goal, I can't make sales because of this limitation. It was, in the process of me achieving this goal, this has been something that if we could improve would get. So he operates on possibility as opposed to constraint. If we just kind of tie it back to what we've been discussing, I'd say that's the big thing. And then skill wise, I mean, yeah, like, very well studied, very, very skilled in his craft, because he's put in the work, because he's never had any resistance to putting in the work, right? So he's never sat there moping and whining about anything. He's just, this is what I want to do, this is what needs to be done, and this is why, because I can do whatever the fuck I want. He's a limitless, timeless, boundless, limitless soul whose true nature is freedom, love, and possibility. Like, he's just a very good impersonation of that.
Inspiring guy he is, man, Bogdan.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you give to someone who's starting high ticket sales?
Who's starting?
Think about it, so you can get a few new clients here.
Don't go into sales. No, I'm joking. Somebody who's starting. So again, I think it's been like 5 years since I started, so it's getting harder and harder for me to relate and like give good solid advice, because obviously the terrain has changed a little bit. I think I would say really hold on to whatever selfish and unselfish reasons you have for doing this, and really hold on to and try to never lose perspective of whatever it was you were doing before. And because remote sales is fucking nuts, mate. Like, you sit on your laptop, and the money that it's stupid. Yeah. It's stupid. So whatever, like, try and hold on to whatever you were doing before that made you want to get out of that and into this, because the moment you lose that is the moment you slip into the entitled closer role, which I think, again, is part of the natural journey. I think it's really difficult to skip that part, because that's just life, right? Like, it's the hedonistic adaptation of, wow, this is fucking amazing. Oh, this fucking sucks. Do you know what I mean? It's like, for me in the beginning, it was like, I don't have to generate leads. This is crazy. And then you're on an offer like, these leads suck. Whereas like 2 weeks ago, you were fucking over the moon that you didn't have to generate them.
I haven't said that before, have I, Brian? Never. On the offer.
When you said entitled closer, I looked over this fucker.
Again, so I think the other thing I would say is, this is more for the people, I think, who are of the school of thought of, you can't be in closing for 2 months and then teach others to close. I think we also forget the value in process. Things have a time and a process on this, timeline and human experience that we're going through. There's a time and a place for being an entitled closer and then getting reminded that actually you have it pretty fucking good, and you can only know that because of the contrast, right? Because you forget and then you're reminded. It's the duality of it again, isn't it? So I think that's all part of it. But so if somebody's getting into sales, try and hold on to the selfish and unselfish. Try and keep both. Don't be purely selfish of 10K, 20K, whatever. Try and hold on to both, and try to hold the perspective. If the longer you can hold that perspective, I think the better you'll do, because you'll be in a state of gratitude and you'll appreciate the role and you have less resistance towards it. It's when you start losing sight of that you lose the duality of it, of the perspective, and then you have resistance. And it's resistance is like, that's the antithesis of high performance and therefore achieving goals.
Yeah.
Super inspiring, man. The last question, what question would you have for the next guest? You don't know who it's going to be. It's not going to be Joel. What's one question you'd leave for the next guest?
I'll take a good old fashioned Tim Ferriss question. This is a good one. I used to like this one. If you were to be able to put a billboard somewhere where as many people as possible are going to see it, what would you put on the billboard? That one pulls up some good answers. Sometimes.
I actually have one more question.
Go on then.
What's one thing you'd like everyone to take away from this podcast?
That you're not a human. Disidentify with that. Like, love, appreciate, have compassion for that experience that you have of the highs and the lows and the wants and the desires and the losses and the frustrations and the angers. Like, really cherish and appreciate that, but look at it as the being that you are, looking at this little human that's running around with all his constraints and worries, and have a lot of love and compassion for them, but just understand that's not you. It's not you. That's not your nature. That's not the essence of what and who you are. And the gift that we've been given is to come here and incarnate into this carbon meat suit that you were given, and to be able to attract people and circumstances in your life to show you where you're not quite yet free, to overcome those. That's the whole game. And I really truly believe that. And having been fortunate enough to like learn these things from Peter Crone as well. Now they've been really instrumental for me. And so if anybody would take anything away from this, is to love and cherish the human, know that that's not you, see it through the eyes of the being that you are, and understand that every single next moment that you have is pure possibility. It is just as likely that you hit every single goal and achieve everything that you've ever wanted as it is that you don't. It is equally as likely. It is equally as possible. And that gives me a lot of peace. It gives me a lot of peace. Because I'm not inserting the past that I don't want anymore. I'm open to, it could be anything. Because what does Peter Crone say? You're not afraid of the future. You're afraid of the future that you're projecting into the future.
Yeah.
So if we can take anything away from that I think will take a lot of pressure off of the leaderboard and the commission check and the sales manager breathing down my neck and all this silliness that goes on in the human experience.
Yeah, I had goosebumps when you said separate yourself from the human. It just really hit home, like a realization.
Did you see it?
Remembrance, yeah.
Yeah, you
for sure.
Just look at the little human that you are.
It's so empowering, right?
Bro, yeah. I showed up here late. Obviously, in the last 2 weeks, we went through massive change in the company. I was doing 16-hour days, filled with caffeine, nicotine, shout out Velo, sponsor. But I just came in here, I was like, fuck, I'm stressed. And this conversation was so powerful. It just helped me remember so many things that I learned in the past and that are probably innate to me. And I feel peace at the end of it. So thank you, brother.
You're very, very welcome.
Appreciate
It's
it,
been
man.
an absolute pleasure. Thanks for
Yeah.
boys.
Where can
Thanks for
people
Shen.
find you, bro?
So Instagram, Adam_Paul_Taylor. Facebook, Adam Paul Taylor. YouTube, I'll be kicking that off again as well. I was doing some film with our guy, with Clement here the other day at Kin. I've been sketching some shit out on some paper up on the rooftop in Kin. I got some really good content that will be coming you guys' way, because I think there's a lot of other aspects of sales in and around sales that have really helped me and helped people that I've worked with, that I have been a little bit selfishly sort of thinking, what's the point? Why bother? And I genuinely actually have found like a renewed sense of passion and energy around sharing that, because that's just invigorating and it's cool and it makes me feel good, so I'll fucking do it. And if it doesn't make me feel good, I won't, but it does. So it just has to be in my way, so I won't be sitting in front of a camera like this with a fancy background and a boom mic. I'll be like drawing and sketching, doing stuff outside and trying to make it a little bit creative and fun and different, and talk about different topics like these that we've been talking about, the financial side of things. So yeah.
Beautiful. Let's go.